everyone, I'm back from the Florida Keys. It took me about 15 or 16 days to get up to New York City where we live. And motor vessel we are is safely back in its slip at the Huguenot Yacht Club. And I thought I'd share with you a few of my favorite apps that I use to travel the United States seaboard, eastern seaboard, 3 times already in the last 1 year. So we took delivery in June and July of last year down in Charleston, and we took it up north to New York where we live. And then during the summer, we enjoyed it in Long Island Sound. And eventually in the fall, we brought it down all the way to the Florida Keys, where we spent a wonderful winter. And in April, brought it back up to New York. So all told, we have about 600 hours on the engine. And I thought at this point, I'd make a video to show you what are the apps I use in order to make this journey back and forth. And so hope you enjoy the content. And it's a beautiful day here in New York. Over the years, I've accumulated a lot of apps. I'm sure you have as well. And here's about 5 or 6 apps that I routinely lean on. And the first one I'll show you is Windy. Windy has a free version, which I use. It allows you to have a 5-day lookout, whereas the premium or paid version, I believe, gives you a week, 2-3 weeks of outlook. I have it today set on New Rochelle, where I'm located just outside New York City, and you can see in each 3-hour band what the temperature looks like, the wind gust, and the wind direction. I like to focus on the wave and tide option at the bottom of the page, where you can start to see more granular data and information. That's really quite helpful, and you can help it with your trip planning out, 5 and 6 days. The other option that I really like to have in this is moving down at the bottom and looking at wind, both the ECMWF model and the GFS models, the top 2 models. I really look to see, are they close? And if they are, then I know that they are reasonable in terms of their forecasting accuracy. Here I'm moving to get an accurate forecast down in the mouth of the Chesapeake down in Norfolk. And you'll see again the top 2 lines of the top 2 models, the European model and the other model. And you'll see the wind and the wind gusts for each of those models. And I look again for, are they similar in their readings? There's the wave and wind and tide forecast. Again, this tool, this Windy tool, is one that I lean on in addition to the NOAA forecasts, which are found online by simply Googling. Here is the Jersey Shore when I'm out in the ocean for about 110 miles. And again, you can see green and blue are nice wind speeds, and then you'll see some oranges and reds that would denote higher speed or higher mile per hour wind and wind gusts. So this is the Windy app. I find it to be extremely valuable. I check it the night before, the day before, the day of, and throughout my journey. Aboard my Helmsman Trawlers 38E, I have Garmin electronics, which allows me to do route planning right into the multifunction display. I also have a Garmin Navionics app that I use all the time for trip planning and route planning. So here's an example where I'm starting out in Cape May, New Jersey, and I want to build a route all the way up to my home in New York City. And so what I'd like to do, knowing that that's a very long trip, is I'll make waypoints along the journey in case of weather or other issues I need to bail out. So the first one I just did there was Atlantic City. As I'm moving north along the coast, I'll be looking for another inlet, which I know is achievable and reasonable, which is called Barnegat Inlet. And that inlet I've stayed in several times, so I know it's easy to get in and easy to get out. And then as you continue to move north using this touch and point feature of Navionics, I'll put a dot or a waypoint right there at the harbor in New York City. And then ultimately you'll see where that red arrow is. That's where we're today. We're dropping an arrow at the Huguenot Yacht Club on the Long Island Sound. And as you can see over on the left-hand side, I've created now a route that has multiple stops or waypoints. So the first waypoint is 1 hour, 47 minutes, then 6.5 hours, and then another 7 and almost 8 hours, and then another 2 hours. So if I were to go about that trip, I would have multiple areas where I could stop. You can create boat settings, your boat name, length, beam, draft, how fast you typically travel. You can save your route and rename it. In this case, I do Cape May to New York City. where I then can save this route and pull it up later. This is a great tool for trip planning purposes, and I highly recommend. It's an annual subscription to Navionics. Now they just simply call it Garmin Boating. This next app I use is called Aqua Maps, and it's an app that I was late to getting to, but I find it to be extraordinarily useful, particularly when you're traveling up and down the ICW where there's a lot of skinny water, shallow water, shoaling. And here I'm showing you an example down in the Charleston, South Carolina area, and you can see wherever there's green or blue is nice deep water. However, you'll see shallow water represented by orange and red, and you'll also see a blue line, which is a preferred course, as well as sometimes you'll see these red lines or dotted lines that will show you an alternative approach. Additionally, Aqua Maps will show you anchorages, which I use all the time. So you'll see as you click on the anchor symbol, you'll see whether there's a lot of reviews or no reviews or positive reviews. And they're amazing. The community really is quite generous with giving detailed anchorage reviews. And then there's another symbol for anchorage that's either between Active Captain or Waterway Guide. Those are the two sources of data. So you'll often see in an anchorage a green anchor and a blue anchor. And so as you're doing your trip planning along the ICW, it's really important to consider Aqua Maps as a resource. And you'll see this blue dotted line within the app itself. And that is a community sourcing of data through a fellow called Bob423 Tracks. That's Bob423 Tracks. And that has been sort of demonstrated over years as a safe and manageable way up along the ICW, which stretches from Norfolk, Virginia, south to the Keys. And it really leverages U.S. Army Corps of Engineers survey data, as well as community feedback. And so there's an example of those other tracks that you can import into the Aqua Map from Bob423, following that blue dotted line. And you can set up this app to be feet or meters, knots, miles per hour, whatever you prefer. DQUA is a great app that I use whenever I want to grab a slip at a marina. Typically, I like to anchor out, but on occasion, due to weather or other circumstances, I'll need to get a slip. And so here I am in the app, and I'm typing in Cape May, New Jersey. And it'll give you a lot of options within that immediate area. These are all marinas, some private, some public, but all within the DQUA app. And you can click on one, like I've done here for the Cape May Marina, and you'll see a number of reviews, 86 reviews. You'll see the tool to enter in the date you're arriving and departing. You'll be able to read those reviews and information about the place, the hours, the VHF channel, the phone, the website. It's a plethora of information. And so what you do is when you want to book a stay, you open up the calendar tool and you put in the dates. It gives you a price. In this case, it's $150. If you want to request that reservation, you'd simply hit that blue button. Another option to search is by the map feature, and then you can zoom into Cape May, and you can find all these red marina options. Here's the Canyon Club Resort, which I've stayed at. It's $3.50 a foot. Again, you can book your stay, pick your arrival and departure times. You read the reviews. You can click on the phone number to get the number. You can click on the website to be patched right into the website. DQUA is a great tool. It's never failed me. You can communicate with the marinas. Everything is online. You can chat with them online, and I highly recommend it. NEBO is another app I use, NEBO, NEBO. It's not well known, but it's a really useful tool when I want to communicate with other folks up and along the Great Loop or the Eastern Seaboard, ICW. You can go into the app and create a profile. There is a free version and a paid version. The paid version allows you to do more customization and setting up your boat profile and also communicating with other boats who are on this NEBO platform. You can see in the New York metropolitan area, all of these flags, all of these individual vessels are NEBO participants, and you'll see numbers now. These are aggregated numbers of NEBO people in certain localities or geographies. So you'll see in Annapolis 5 and 6 folks. Here's one called GUP-B, who you can click on. You can find out, where they're locating. You can actually speak to them or communicate with them, which I use all the time. How's the weather ahead? How are the conditions on the Chesapeake? It's a great, useful tool. They get a notification that you just sent them a message, and they always respond back. So it's a great community within this NEBO platform. Up and down the East Coast, I use it every single day. I let my family members follow me with a link that I provide them through the app. And so here's another example of somebody today who's out in the Long Island Sound. Looks like they're an American tug. If I want to reach out to them or add them as a friend, you can do it through the app. All right, so here are the tools I use every day, not necessarily for trip planning or my route planning, but just tools to have on my Helmsman Trawlers 38E that I find to be really valuable. Obviously, we have all of our electronics at the helm station, which we've talked about in the past. I also keep an iPad here as well. And my iPad doesn't actually have GPS built in, which is not a problem because for literally about $20, I bought this thing on Amazon. It's called a Garmin Glow. And here's the book on it. And I'll zoom in so you can take a peek at it. Garmin Glow, GLO2. And you literally plug it in right here, really simple. It illuminates. And what that does then on your iPad, it allows you connect to it, Garmin Glow on Bluetooth, and now you have GPS. So what does that allow you to do? It allows you to use apps like Aqua Maps, which I've referenced before as a must app. You must have Aqua Maps, in my opinion, to safely navigate the ICW and other waters where you have skinny water on occasion. And so once you have this Garmin Glow, which is $20 or $30 on Amazon, you attach it via Bluetooth to your iPad, you then have the ability to use your iPad as another touchscreen, another multifunction display, just like you have over here with your Garmin. So that is a must, in my opinion. We've talked about already the Atlantic ICW Quick Reference by the Bolt Galley. This is something I purchased. I don't remember the cost, but it's invaluable as you go up and down the coast. You see bridges by state, by mile marker, so you can identify upcoming bridges, the clearance, how to hail that bridge, and any particular notes. So again, I've mentioned this in the past, but very valuable tool. It can't be more than $20 or $30, but buy it, stuff it away, because you'll really need it. Of course, I have a backup VHF when I'm on the tender. This is I believe it's called a Horizon. It's several $100s. It's not inexpensive, but it's light, it's waterproof, and it hasn't failed me once. It's really great. I'll keep it on 16 or 13 or 9. And I tell you, when I'm underway, I have the Vesper Gore-Tex, which is a great tool. Gives me my AIS, send and receive. It gives me all sorts of data. But to have this as a handy backup is really great. Of course, a great set of binoculars is really important. You go online. This is US Camel. I'd recommend it. It's great. It's probably like many others out there, but that's what I use for sure. And then I've got 3 flashlights. It's unbelievable. You think, why do you need 3 flashlights? And interestingly, I didn't even realize they're all brawn, and brawn. I can tell you that I did not purchase these on purpose as all brawn. This little pencil one this is really valuable when I'm nosing around downstairs or, a small, tight little space. This little guy is really great. It runs on batteries, and I highly suggest it. This heavy duty one, I leave this one out when I go to bed at night when I'm on the anchor, just in case I need to come up from the stateroom, which is down below, and I need to grab it and really illuminate a large area. This is rechargeable. It doesn't have batteries, which is great. And I think I've charged it once in about 1 year. It really is long lasting, 6,000 lumens, and it really just lights up an entire anchorage. So that's really great to have. And then the third, which I just recently started to use on my trip back from the Florida Keys, which was about 15 or 16 days. And this goes on your head, and you look like a complete tool, but that's okay, because when you're outside, you have both hands free, and this sits on, it's very secure. You turn it on right here, And while you're out in the front dealing with the anchor, you can, which is out front there, you can have both hands free. And so yeah, having 3 flashlights, super helpful in my estimation. Hope this helps, and we'll talk soon. Bye.